For thousands of years, artists have looked to nature as they strive to create. Places like this, Circle B Bar Reserve in Polk County, have served as inspiration for artists. On this episode of Polk Arts, we sat down with two artists who look to wildlife in Polk County as inspiration. Find out more on this episode of Polk Arts.
Early in my career, I realized if I went and saw the animal in its natural environment, the creature I was going to paint, that I would do a better job. I would find some kind of kinship with it. I would have a better idea how it moves, how it smells, how it sounds. And I believe all of that goes into a painting. So a long time ago, I realized that 95% of my paintings evolved from trips out in the woods. I love nature. I truly love being out there. I think it's incredibly interesting. I think it leads to the bunches of answers in the world. And I really feel closest to God out there in the woods. That's probably my church. And I think the definition of me of a naturalist is somebody that really enjoys being in nature, wants to study nature, wants to know nature, and understands that we're never going to know everything, but it's just really cool to watch. Polk County's blessed. I don't know if most of the pop here knows that. We are just, you go out west and you may see one or two birds. Arizona, where I grew up, lizards maybe, rattlesnake, a couple critters like that. You do have the megafauna like a big deer or something like that, but they're rare. Here, I just had ibis walking through my backyard. Backyard's full of birds. I got kestrels in the trees, I got hummingbirds. I can go to Circle B, which anybody here can go to, what a jewel it is, and see tons of creatures. And it's just, we're really blessed with tons of water birds and tons of wildlife. I worry about that as an artist, and that's part of the other reason I paint is I think if people know more about the animals around them, they tend to preserve them more. They tend to put a little more time in taking care of them. And their habitat's crucial. They need a place to live, and they're good for us. I mean, everything's in balance. And so that leads to the other part of why I paint is to show people these animals, show them the beauty of the animal. And when they talk to me about it, I talked about what the animal does. I try to tell them a little bit about its natural history and stuff. I built my studio in the backyard and I was just painting back there, and we thought, let's do some workshops. People are asking, everybody asks artists that all the time anyway. You do an art show, they'll come in and talk to you. Hey, do you do workshops? And I'd be like, no. And so we decided, yeah, let's do a workshop. And the first workshop had 10 people in it. And it was an absolute blast. But when I got done on Sunday afternoon, I didn't even want to talk. I felt like I'd worn myself out, And I've been doing them now 15 years, and the joy, you learn to pace yourself as an instructor because you can actually overload them with information. And I really pride myself on teaching. I want them to learn at their pace. More importantly, I want them to be happy. I want them to enjoy it. Painting should be something you really enjoy. It shouldn't be something you hate doing. And so happiness is a big deal in there. Joy is a big deal in there. I encourage screw-ups. I want them to mess up. That's how you get better. You make a mistake, you fix it. You make a mistake, that's how you get better and grow. So I love the workshops. It taps on the old coach in me. There's something about coaches that the general public may not know, but we draw gigantic amounts of satisfaction to see tiny gains. I mean, you coach and coach and coach, and somebody can't get over a hurdle, and all of a sudden they do it, and you're like, oh, that was awesome. That was awesome. That's what it's all about. So the workshops draw on that. They're going to be a part of my life for as long as I can. And man, the satisfaction, I've got students in there that have come so far. It's just beautiful. And I'll tell students, they first come in, they're like, man, I shouldn't even be here. All these other people are so good. And I'm like, they were just like you a few years ago. And they love other people. The air is good. The atmosphere is good. It's positive. There's a place in your mind where you've taken in all this information and you don't think about it, but it somehow boils down in there and comes out on its own. And by having to help all these people with all these different paintings, having to explain to them how to do something and how to approach this, how to make this happen, it's made me a much better artist. As I paint more, it becomes more balanced. It becomes second nature. And honestly, when I'm in a groove, 5 or 6 hours can go by. It feels like a minute, and I don't even think about what I'm doing. It just flows. And that's the beauty of the paint. As I said earlier, I'm the closest to God out in the woods. I'm just super happy out there. It feels like that's where I should be. The second best place is right there painting. I mean, to get to do that for a living.
I was a ER physician, and that's a stressful job. And in late 90s, we went on a vacation to Chincoteague, Assateague Island in Virginia, Maryland. And on the way out, we stopped on a gas station, and there was a guy there kind of like, carving. And I started intrigued, and he said, well, you can do it. So on the way back, we stopped and got a book and a piece of wood and a knife and started doing it, and kind of fell in love with it. And ever since, I took a couple of classes, and I found it really relaxing from the stress. I went in my own little world with, classical music, and time flew. At the beginning, you have to force yourself and you don't see, but after a while, the wood itself will talk to you. It will basically kind of let you know what it wants to be, what is in there that you have to discover. And that's the rewarding part. You start doing something, and then you start seeing it, but it's there, but but it's not, until you start getting pieces of wood out and it start coming. Art definitely is therapeutic, any form of art. Even you walk out in nature, that is, God created that. This is a symphony, the perfect symphony in there. So, music, you go in there, you start looking at it, it kind of speaks to your soul, speaks, to your inner being. So any form of art is really not only a relief either of the stress, but it's an enhancement of your inner life. They say I'm an artist. I never saw myself as an artist. I just somebody that was just doing things because I liked it. But it's humbling when you do it like that and you see it. Wow, that was an accomplishment. I never realized that. In modern societies, art sometimes is taken for granted. And art is very important in any form of art. All forms of art contribute tremendously to improve the quality of life of everybody. And, everybody should give it a try too.